Okay, here we are at the end of January. Shows are finished, taken down, packed away, and we're to the part that I really love, and that's 3D modeling. But this year I decided to take a little different route and go back and correct some of the less than perfect models that I created in the past. And the biggest problem I've had with any of my models has been the old nubbins. The nubbins, while it's a fascinating concept on paper, looks great, looks like it should hold the pixels well, they always break. They couldn't handle the pressure. And it's not a matter of bad 3D printing, it's just they're too small to handle the pressure that's put on them. So I decided to go back to the drawing board and totally redesign a pixel holder. And I'll show you what I came up with. Now the connector that I used on the old Snowflake is still basically the same concept. This piece slides into this piece and the pixel holds it in. Just a little bit different shape, but basically the same concept. What is totally different is the pixel holder. Now, one of the things that I've changed on this is the width. The old snowflakes that I did were like three quarter of an inch high. This is only 1/2 inch high. So it does save you some filament. But I turned around and did these raised tabs that takes back some of that filament. As you can see, there's 4 tabs here. And I'll give you a better view of it towards the end of this video when we go into Sketchup. But each tab has a raised ridge on it that fits in the groove on the pixels. Being a raised tab like this, it adds for a little flexibility where when you pop the pixel in, the tab moves just a little bit. The one downfall to this design is you have to print it on its side. That is a necessity. I'll say that many times throughout this video. This must be printed on the side. And why is that? When you print it flat like this, the layers on your printer go horizontally this way. The problem you run into when that happens, this is one that I printed flat on the bottom like this. If you do that, this is what happens to those tabs. This is a good quality print with good layer adhesion and everything. But you still, if you drop one of these pieces or put a little too much pressure on to put it in a pixel, the tab will break off. This one was printed on its side. When you print it on its side, the layers go this way. So you get the strength and the length of the tab. So these tabs are really strong. They're not going to break off. Pixels pop in well, and they hold very well. I mean, there's times when I'm going to take these things back out, I actually have to take a pair of pliers to pull them out. So that's the basic design I came up with for the new pixel holder. Now, to give you a couple of ideas of what I use this for, models that I'll be sharing with you. This is a 2 model piece. It's for a star. Some of you remember a star that I designed, probably a year and a half ago. It was 2 pieces as well. These 2 pieces fit together like this. You print each model 5 times and you will end up with a 24-inch star. Now, one of the things that most of you are going to be really pleased with this year is I purchased a Creality Ender 3. That's what I've been doing most of my designing on. This is good for you guys because a lot of you have the smaller print beds. The Creality has a 220 by 220 print bed on it, which kind of sucks for you guys that have the 200 by 200s, you know, the baby printers. But the 220 by 220 brings a lot of you into the picture where you don't have to adjust these models in any way. Give you a better view of this star. We'll go ahead and slide it together, put these last 2 pieces together here. That is your 24-inch star. Good and sturdy, made with the new pixel holder design. I've already put pixels in this one. Go ahead and finish it off here right quick. This, if I remember right, is, I believe this one has 60 pixels in it. Like I said, these things pop in easily, and you can see they stay in there when you get them in. You don't have to worry about them breaking. I'll go back and finish this later on. I'm sure you guys don't want to watch me doing that. Like I say, a 24-inch star. These are designed 1.5-inch spacing. If you wanted to make a bigger star, you could actually go halfway between each pixel and cut out one area and copy it and extend it out as far as you wanted to. But I know right about now most of you are saying, okay, not a nice fancy little star there, but we want our snowflake. So I made a snowflake. Snowflake is 3 models. You have your inner model, the center, and the outer model. When these are all put together, this makes a 36-inch star snowflake. Now, one of the things you guys are really going to love about this is I adjusted this where, if I'm not mistaken, it will print on a 200 by 200 bed. Somebody will have to test this and let me know for sure. Like I say, I did my designs on a 220 by 220 print bed, but I believe these are small enough to fit on a 200 by 200. Now, one of the things a lot of you are probably looking at right now saying, well, where the hell's the print hub on this? got to have a hub to hold the snowflake together. Not on this one. We'll put this thing together and I'll show you what I'm talking about. We'll start out with the centerpiece here. Each of these 3 models has to be printed 6 times. Of course, you have 6 arms on a snowflake. So we'll start putting this thing together here. Now when you're putting these inner parts together, you don't want to go all the way in with them, because once you get to that 6th part, it's not going to fit real well. So you have to put them in about halfway. And just like that, you have a magic hub. As I said, if I'm not mistaken, this is the longest piece you have of the 3 models. And I'm almost positive it will fit on a 200 by 200 bed. This is the part of the new models that I was most proud of. It took a lot of hours and a lot of wasted filament to get this just right. But it comes together beautifully. Now we'll start putting together the rest of this. It'll take a minute. Some of these pieces, if your print's a little rough, these connectors can fit pretty tight. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is your 36-inch snowflake that will print, I'm pretty sure, on a 200 by 200 bed. And that is with the new pixel holder design. And again, I'll throw in here and reiterate that all 3 of these models must be printed on their sides. If you don't, you're going to break those tabs off. So right now I'm going to take you into the Sketchup and Cura and show you a little closer look at the way this is designed and some of the neater details about it. So we're in Sketchup here. This is where all the magic takes place. We'll be able to get a real close-up look at what's going on with these models. You can see here the ridge that's in place on each of the tabs. Now each of the tabs has a little extension off of them, That doesn't interfere with its flexibility any. Whenever I modeled these, I tried to model them where they took the least amount of support as I could, model into them. You'll see these angle pieces here at the bottom of these tabs. If you set your minimum support angle correctly, you will not need supports underneath these. These three down here, right on the bed, so these tabs prevent you from having support there. You will get support in the center of these tabs, in between the two on each side. That support does not have to be removed. Support is just there for support. It doesn't meld with the model itself, so it's not going to interfere with the functionality of these tabs. The holes themselves, if you have a good printer setup, you don't need support in there. But usually when you set your support, it's going to put some in there anyway. This area down here, sorry about that. This area over here underneath this connector insert are the main areas on this that will need support. Show you one of the little hidden things on this. This connector insert here, you'll see I modeled it come up to a peak like this. That peak is to prevent it needing any support inside this connector. And trust me, you don't want to try to dig support out from inside of this thing. It's a real pain. So I designed it with that peak so it wouldn't need it. Go up to the other two models here. They basically print about the same. They're the same design, just one smaller than the other. And you'll see on each of the pixel holder tabs, I have the angle set up on the bottom, same as the other, to prevent it needing supports there. When we go into Cura, I'll show you your minimum support angle that I use on it to prevent it from creating supports there. On this one, it will need supports right in this area. The rest of this is fine without supports. And the smaller ones the same way. Have the angled support built into the tabs, and it will need support down here on the bottom. So like I say, I designed all of these to take the minimal amount of support possible. Now if we go into Cura, you'll see the supports that I already have in place on mine. As I said, this area over here, the connector insert, and this area right here that's a flat area will need support. This other connector insert, it can be printed without support, but you'll find out that this bottom part here comes out a little rough. So it's up to you if you want to use support on it or not. You may want to do a test print and see how it goes. but I did allow it to put supports inside the holes, and those supports are very easy to pop out. Now, as you see, this is on its side. All the models that I'll be posting are already positioned on their sides. And once again, I reiterate, all these models, these for the snowflake and the stars, need to be printed on their sides. That's where you're going to get your strength from. You can print them on the bottom if you want to, but don't say I didn't warn you. Going into the settings for Cura, main thing I wanted to point out, if you look up here at the top, I am running a 0.8 millimeter nozzle on my Ender 3. Actually, I have it on my Ender 3 and my S5 now. I cannot stress enough how much time it will save you if you swap your 0.4 millimeter nozzle for a 0.8. You will reduce your printing time over half. If you look down here at the bottom, this model, when you slice it, comes out to just over 5 hours of printing time. If you do this model with a 0.4 millimeter nozzle, you're talking close to 11 hours of printing time. That's how much it cuts down the time on this. Those of you that are fairly new to 3D printing, you can't be afraid of changing your nozzle. You can change from a 0.4 to a 0.8 and not change a single one of your Cura settings or your slicer settings, whichever one you use, and get good print quality. You'll usually have to tweak your settings a little bit because you may get some stringing or some blobbing. You may have to change your nozzle temperature because you have more filament coming out faster. You have twice as much coming out, and a lot of times the heat on your nozzle can't keep up with it, so you may have to raise your heat a little bit. But you will save a whole lot of printing time if you replace that 0.4 millimeter nozzle with the 0.8. They're very cheap on Amazon. The last batch that I bought a lot of 44 of them for 15 bucks. And that's something a little over 30 cents a piece. So replacing your nozzle is not expensive and it's not difficult. Go over here to my settings. I chose to go with the 0.4 millimeter layer height. With your 0.8 millimeter nozzle, yes, you can go on up to over 0.6 millimeter on your layer height. But I do not suggest going that high on this, because if you do, you lose the definition on your the ridges here on your pixel holder tabs. And if you lose too much definition, they're not going to function as well. I did a lot of test prints. I tested it at 0.4 millimeter, 0.5 millimeter, 0.6 millimeter. And the 0.4 millimeter performed the best. I do my wall thickness at 2.5 millimeters. That's to ensure that these tabs print as solids. Top and bottom you can set to whatever you want. Most of you know me long enough to know that I like good thick walls. So I have mine set at 2 millimeters. Infill, it's not real important on this model. I'm doing it at 20%. You could probably go even a little lower if you wanted to. Another thing you'll need to adjust a little bit if you're going with the bigger nozzle is your print speed. Usually I go up 60 or more millimeters per second on my print speed, but with the 0.8 millimeter nozzle you want to slow it down a little bit. Some people slow it down even as much as 40 millimeters a second, but I found it does pretty good at 50. Now here's the important part, your support. Like I say, these are designed to need very little support. This setting right here, support overhead hang angle, that is what tells it where to put support, where to start support at a particular angle. For instance, this part right here, will not create support there. It will not create support here. Well, at this angle it will, but you can set your angle to where it will not create support there. That is something you'll have to play with on your slicer. In Cura, it goes up. I talked to another guy that printed one of my models. He said on his that the lower the setting, the more the angle. He had to set his at it's either 10 or 20 degrees. A lot of the times I set mine at 70 or above to minimize the amount of angle. Excuse me, the amount of support. The rest of this are settings that you'll just have to play with. Figure out what works best for you on your printer and with your slicer. But that support overhang angle is the important one. So we'll go ahead and close this one out on that note. But I will reiterate one more time, all these models need to be printed on their side. If you choose to print them flat, you do it at your own risk. It can be printed flat, but I guarantee you're going to have a lot of trouble. All these models will be posted on the 3D Printing for Christmas Light Enthusiasts group page. To answer one question that'll probably come up, do I have an X model for the Snowflake yet? No, I don't. The Snowflake takes 132 pixels. The old Snowflake I did was 126. So there won't be a whole lot of modification to it. But for right now, you'll have to do your own X model. If there's any other questions, just put them in the comment section and I'll get back to you right away. I wish you guys luck with these models and happy 2020. Thank you.